My mum gave away my bedroom to my brother's new girlfriend like I was just a piece of old furniture. So I gave that girl the landlord's number, and you better believe it didn't end well for anyone but me. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name's Tessa McCoy. I'm 17, and honestly, I like quiet things, books, my music, being alone. I don't ask for much, but somehow, that made me invisible in my own house. My mum, Darla, always acted like I was the difficult one, but my older brother Logan, he could do anything and still get praised like some hero. One day, Logan came home with this girl, Brittany Hale. She was pretty, loud, and full of drama. She'd apparently gotten into a big fight with her parents and needed somewhere to stay for a few days. My mum didn't even hesitate. She looked straight at me and said, "Tessa, let her use your room for now. Be a good girl." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. Within an hour, I was dragging my stuff down to the basement. No warning, no talk, nothing. Just move. The basement was gross. Cold air leaked through the broken window. The ceiling dripped in the corner. It smelled like wet cardboard and old dust, and that's where I was supposed to sleep, live. I sat on a pile of blankets that night, looking up at the spider webs and cracked light bulb, thinking, how is this okay? Meanwhile, upstairs, Brittany was already cozy in my bed. I could hear her laughing with Logan through the vent. She was using my lamp, my pillows, my bookshelf. I tried to tell my mum I wasn't okay with it. I said it wasn't fair. She just sighed and said, "Stop being dramatic. It's just a room." Logan smirked and told me to grow up. Brittany smiled like the queen of the house. That night, I looked at my old room one last time through the half-open door. Brittany had already hung up her pink scarf over my mirror. My favorite band poster was gone, and there was a faint scent of her expensive perfume floating in the air. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, frozen. For the first time in my life, I truly felt replaced. But I'm not the type to stay quiet forever. Not when someone takes my space and acts like I was never there. They thought I was weak. They forgot I pay attention. And they definitely didn't know what I was capable of. So I stayed quiet. For now, but not for long. I tried talking to my mum again the next day. I stood in the kitchen while she chopped vegetables and said, "I really don't think it's fair I had to move to the basement." She didn't even look at me, just sighed and said, "Tessa, stop being dramatic. It's just a room. Just a room." It was my room, my space, my comfort. But none of that seemed to matter to her. It got worse after that. Brittany wasn't just staying in my room. She was claiming it. I walked by one afternoon and saw her stringing up twinkle lights and putting up new posters. She'd thrown out my old poetry books and even my stuffed bear I'd had since I was 6. I found it in the hallway trash, like it meant nothing. When I picked it out and held it, Logan laughed. "Why are you being weird? Brittany's family now. Just let her settle in." Family. She didn't even live here a week ago. The door to my old room was always closed now. I wasn't allowed in. One time I opened it a crack to get my journal, and Brittany snapped, "Knock first," like I was the intruder. Later that night, I noticed she was wearing one of my sweatshirts, the blue one I loved. I said, "That's mine." She smiled and said, "It was just hanging there. You don't even use it." My heart dropped. She used my shampoo, my face wash. She had even moved my stuff from the top drawer into a shoebox and shoved it into the closet. I felt like a stranger in my own home. No one cared how I felt. Not my mum, not Logan, and definitely not Brittany. One night, I walked back upstairs quietly, hoping to grab my favorite notebook when she wasn't around. But the moment I stepped in, I saw my diary lying open on the bed, pages flipped, her handwriting in the margins. I stood there frozen. I didn't say anything. I just turned around and walked back to the cold, damp basement. That night, I stared at the ceiling and made a promise to myself. If they wanted to act like I didn't exist, then I'd remind them, and I'd do it in a way they'd never forget. The favoritism wasn't new. I had grown up with it, watched Logan get away with things that would have had me grounded for weeks. But this time, it stung in a way I didn't know was possible. One afternoon after school, I walked in and saw shopping bags on the couch. My mum had gone out. I peeked inside, half hoping maybe she'd gotten something for me. Inside were new pastel bed sheets, matching fairy lights, and candles that smelled like vanilla cupcakes. My heart dropped. Brittany. That night, I heard laughter coming from upstairs. Real, high-pitched, fake giggly laughter. When I got to the top step, I saw the door to my old room wide open. Brittany had invited friends over, girls I didn't even know. They were sitting on my bed, snacking on chips, flipping through magazines like they owned the place. I stood there for a second, unseen, then quietly went back down to the basement. Again. Later, when I came up for dinner, the smell of baked mac and cheese hit me. I felt a small flutter of hope. That was my favorite. But when I got to the table, Darla was placing a second dish down, bacon-wrapped meatloaf, which I couldn't eat because I was vegetarian. She said, "Don't worry about it, Tessa. I didn't have time to make 2 meals." Brittany smiled and took the biggest piece. It got worse. One night, I overheard my mum on the phone with someone. She was talking about helping Brittany out with therapy costs. That wasn't a problem in itself, except I remembered a few weeks earlier, my mum had said she couldn't help me pay for my prom dress. She told me to be realistic. Turns out, she had dipped into the prom fund to pay for Brittany's sessions. I didn't even cry. I just felt numb. Then the worst thing happened. I went looking for my childhood keepsake box, the one with my baby bracelet, the drawings I'd made in kindergarten, even the birthday cards my dad gave me before he passed. I hadn't seen it since I moved to the basement. I checked the closet. Not there. Then I checked the garage. There it was, shoved in the corner, lid half off, damp from a leak in the roof. My drawings were stuck together. My bracelet was rusted. The cards were soggy and torn. I stood in that cold garage for a long time. The smell of mildew filled my nose. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just knew something in me had changed. They didn't see me. Not really. But soon, they were going to feel me. I stopped talking and started watching. Every time Brittany walked in from work or school, I wrote it down. When she left, when she had food, when she took a shower. I even noted the packages that came with her name on them. She was basically living with us. And not just crashing for a weekend like Mom kept pretending. I started recording little things too. Like the time Darla told me, "She's practically part of the family now, so get used to it." Or when Logan said, "You don't own that room anymore." I wrote it all down. Dates, times, exact words. My journal became less about feelings and more like a case file. Then one night, while lying awake in the basement, wrapped in 3 blankets because the heater barely worked, I started Googling. I searched things like tenant laws and long-term guests not on lease. And guess what? In our state, if someone stays over a certain number of days and receives mail or uses the utilities like a resident, the landlord has to be notified, or it's a lease violation. That's when I found his name, Mr. Harlan Dupree, the landlord. I'd only met him once years ago when we moved in. Grumpy, stiff, the type who cared more about rules than people. But that worked for me. Brittany didn't know I was plotting. She was too busy playing pretend queen of the house. She started making comments like, "I think this room needs a plant," or "I'm gonna repaint soon." She told Logan she wanted to hang LED lights across her ceiling, which used to be my ceiling. I walked past her one day in the hall, and she didn't even look at me, just kept scrolling on her phone like I was the guest, like I didn't belong. That's when I knew I was done being quiet. No more begging for space. No more hoping someone would stand up for me. I was going to fix this myself, and it was going to sting. I waited until a Tuesday afternoon when I knew Mr. Dupree would be in town doing inspections. He always checked on the unit across from us once a month. I saw his old silver truck parked outside and didn't hesitate. I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my notebook, and walked over like I had a casual question. When he opened the door, his grumpy face softened a little. "You one of Darla's kids?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, trying to sound a little nervous. "I'm Tessa. I needed to ask something about the lease. Is that okay?" He stepped out into the hallway, arms crossed. "Go on." I fidgeted with my sleeve. "So, hypothetically, if someone was like living in an apartment without being on the lease, like staying for a while, using the shower, cooking, getting mail, what would happen?" His eyes narrowed. "Why? That going on in your place?" I shrugged. "I mean, there's this girl, Brittany, my brother's girlfriend. She's been here for over a month now, gets packages, has her clothes in the drawers, uses my old room actually. I got moved to the basement." He raised an eyebrow. "She on the lease?" "No, sir. My mum never told you, right?" "Not a word," he grunted. "And if she's getting mail there, that counts. Showers, meals, that's living, not visiting. You sure it's been more than 2 weeks?" I nodded. 5, maybe 6, he cursed under his breath. "Name? Brittany Hale. 19, brown hair, kind of loud. I added with a fake little laugh. She's made herself real comfortable. Mr. Dupree didn't laugh. He pulled out a worn notebook from his coat pocket and scribbled her name down. This is why I hate renters thinking they can bend the rules. Your mum knows better. I stayed quiet. He looked up and said, "All right, kid. If they didn't ask me first, someone's getting a notice." I thanked him and walked back slowly, heart pounding but lighter than it had felt in weeks. That night, I heard Logan and Brittany laughing upstairs while I sat on the cold basement floor with a cup of instant noodles. But I smiled to myself because the clock had started ticking and they didn't even know it. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. I was pretending to do homework in the basement when I heard the knock, loud, sharp, and nothing like a neighbour's friendly tap. I crept up the stairs just in time to hear Mr. Dupree's gravelly voice booming through the hallway. "I need to speak with Darla McCoy. Now." My mum shuffled out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel, surprised but trying to play it cool. "Oh, Mr. Dupree, what brings you by?" He didn't even smile. "You've violated your lease. There's been an unregistered resident living here for weeks. That's grounds for eviction." Darla's face froze. "Excuse me? No one's living here but my children." He cut her off. "Then explain why I found mail addressed to Brittany Hale at this address. College documents, from the university registrar, postmarked and everything." I peeked around the corner to see Brittany standing behind Logan, arms crossed, face pale. Darla opened her mouth, then closed it again. She looked at Logan for help, but he just looked confused and mad. She's just visiting." Darla tried again weakly. Mr. Dupree pulled a folded paper from his pocket and handed it to her. "Then you won't mind this. It's a formal notice. Brittany has 72 hours to vacate the property or you all get evicted." The air cracked like a thunderstorm. Logan's face turned red. "Are you serious right now? This is ridiculous." Brittany snapped. "I didn't even know that was illegal. I needed a place to stay." Mr. Dupree didn't flinch. "She's not on the lease. You don't get to play house without my permission." Darla stammered. "Wait, can't we fix this? Please. My daughter must have misunderstood something." But it was too late. After Mr. Dupree left, the house erupted. Logan stormed into the basement shouting, "You told him, didn't you? You ruined everything, Tessa." Darla was crying in the kitchen, repeating, "This can't be happening. This can't be happening." Brittany slammed a door so hard upstairs that the walls shook. I just stood at the bottom of the stairs, quiet and still. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like the stranger in the house. I felt like the storm. No one said sorry. Not once. Not even when Brittany was dragging her tear-streaked self out the front door with 2 garbage bags and 1 glittery pink suitcase. Not when Logan stood stiffly by the doorway with his arms crossed, watching her leave like he was the one being wronged. Not even when Darla stood behind them both, lips tight and eyes full of blame, like I had ruined her perfect little family setup. Instead, Darla turned to me the second the front door shut behind Brittany and snapped, "You didn't have to be so manipulative, Tessa." I stared at her, mouth dry. "Manipulative? You knew exactly what you were doing. You embarrassed this family." I almost laughed. Embarrassed? The only person who should have been embarrassed was her, for letting some random girl walk into her daughter's room and erase her like she never existed. But I didn't say anything. I just blinked at her once, nodded slowly, and walked away. Logan didn't say a word, didn't look at me, not when Brittany left, not while Darla fumed, not when I passed him on the stairs. And Brittany, well, she made sure to have one final word before she left. She turned to me with her fake innocent eyes, her voice shaking with fake emotion, and spat, "You're a cold bitch, you know that?" I smiled, didn't respond, didn't flinch. She wanted me to fight back, to yell, to make a scene so she could play the victim again. But I just stepped out of her way and watched her leave. When they were all gone, I went to my room. It was still full of her things, sparkly pillows, heart-shaped mirrors, fairy lights, cheap perfume. It didn't even smell like me anymore. It smelled like a stranger had lived there and tried to make it hers. So I cleaned it, slowly, one drawer at a time. I threw out everything that wasn't mine, folded the blankets she crumpled, hung my posters back up. I even pulled my favorite worn-out hoodie from the back of the closet and sat on the bed, clutching it like a memory. It took hours, but I didn't stop. Not until the room felt like mine again. That night, for the first time in weeks, I locked the door. I curled up in my bed, my own bed, and stared at the ceiling for a long while. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just breathed, and then I slept like a rock. The house feels different now. Not better, just quieter, colder. No more stomping from upstairs. No more fake giggles. No more slammed doors at 2 a.m. But in place of the chaos, there's this awkward silence that stretches between the walls like fog no one wants to acknowledge. Darla doesn't say much to me, but I see the shift. She knocks now. It's soft, barely a tap, but it's there. A pause before entering. A question before borrowing anything. Once, she even asked if I wanted something from the store. I told her no, and she didn't push. That's how it is now. Logan doesn't speak to me. At all. He eats fast, leaves faster, and spends most of his time in the garage or out with friends. I think he's still mad. I also think he knows I don't care. Not anymore. The heater for the basement finally came in the mail. One of those portable ones with a fake fireplace glow. It's warm and quiet, and it actually works. I set it up downstairs just once to make sure it worked, and then I packed it away in the closet, just in case I ever get banished again. Better to be ready this time. But for now, I have my room back. My real room. My scent is back. Lavender and vanilla. My posters are up again, curling a little at the corners but still proud. My books are stacked neatly on the shelves, just the way I like them. And my music plays loud now. Not loud enough to get yelled at, but loud enough that I can feel it in my chest when I lie back and close my eyes. There's still tension, yeah. There's still weird glances at dinner and silent mornings. But no one touches my stuff. No one tells me to move. No one calls me dramatic for wanting basic respect. It's not a warm home anymore, but it's a peaceful one. And for now, that's enough. Graduation came quicker than I expected. 1 minute, I was counting the days, just to survive each one. And the next, I was in a stiff blue robe, hair curled, walking toward a future I had built for myself. Darla came, of course. She wore her proud mom face like a mask, big sunglasses, heavy makeup, and that forced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She clapped hard when my name was called, even shouted, "That's my girl!" like we'd been best friends all along. It made my stomach twist. Not from nerves, just from the weight of what wasn't real. Logan came too, though he kept to himself, leaning against the back fence of the football field like he didn't want to be seen. When the ceremony was over, he gave Darla a short hug and muttered something I couldn't hear. Then he left, just like that. No goodbye for me. Not that I was looking for one. When it was my turn to speak, I stood at the mic and looked out at the sea of faces. Some were teary, some were bored, some were wide-eyed and full of hope. I took a breath and said the words I had written at 2 a.m. the night before. I want to thank the people who showed me who I never want to be, who taught me that silence isn't strength, that kindness isn't weakness, and that home isn't always a place. It's something you build for yourself. I'm walking away today not because of who stood behind me, but because of who tried to stand in my way. I didn't mention Darla, or Logan, or anything that tied me to the house I had outgrown. And when I stepped off the stage, the applause felt different, lighter, like it was really for me. After the crowd started thinning out, I spotted Mr. Dupree leaning against his old pickup. His shirt was tucked in for once, and he looked like he'd even combed his hair. "Thought I'd come see the troublemaker graduate," he said with a grin. "You made it," I smiled. He gave a small nod. "I'm moving next month, but I wanted to say, you're sharper than most grown folks I've dealt with. Don't let 'em dull you." I didn't say anything back at first, just smiled. A real one. The kind no one else had gotten from me that day, and that was enough. A few weeks after graduation, I came home from work to the sound of laughter coming from the basement door, the door to my space. I walked in and found Darla showing a middle-aged woman around like she was a realtor. "It's unfinished," she was saying, "but it's cozy. You could make it your own with a few rugs and—" I didn't even wait. I dropped my bag and said, loud and clear, "I'm still here, and I'm not moving again." They both turned. Darla blinked like I'd slapped her. "Tessa, I thought you might be moving out soon. It's just a friend looking for a place. Rent could really help us." I crossed my arms. "Then rent your own room." There was silence, the kind that fills every corner of a house and makes your ears ring. Darla looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. Maybe she saw something different in me now, or maybe she just realized she'd pushed enough. She turned to her friend and said awkwardly, "Never mind. It's not available after all." The woman gave a polite smile and left quickly. And Darla? She didn't say a word, just disappeared into the kitchen. That weekend, I redecorated the basement, my basement. I painted the walls a soft green that felt like peace. I hung art I loved, not the posters I used to use just to fill space. I bought a new lamp, a thick rug, and installed a proper lock on the door. No one else came down. No one asked questions. For the first time, That space felt like mine, not something I'd been shoved into, but something I had claimed, protected, and earned. I didn't win by yelling. I didn't scream or fight or cry. I won by making them remember I was always there. Do you think Tessa was right to stand her ground and claim her space? Or should she have just let it go for the sake of peace? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. And if stories like this speak to you, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next.